That desperate squeal still echoes in fans' ears, pulling us straight back into Toontown's chaotic mix of slapstick and noir. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit wasn't just a movie, it was a fever dream wrapped in shadows, Saturday morning cartoons, and behind-the-scenes madness that changed Hollywood forever. One draft made Jessica the villain, another nearly killed Roger off, and one deleted scene horrified audiences beyond belief. These are 40 of the strangest, weirdest facts about Roger Rabbit. Let me tell you first, a photocopy of the manuscript for Who Censored Roger Rabbit was anonymously sent to Disney. The book and a story analysis eventually wound up on the desk of Disney president Ron Miller, who, alongside Roy E. Disney, believed it had potential as a feature film. Now, this probably doesn't sound like the kind of book Disney would have any interest in developing, but the 1980s was the beginning of a whole new era. It goes back to a few years earlier as most of their live-action films began to seriously flounder at the box office. Stick around because the #1 twist still sparks debate today. Fact 40. Judge Doom killed Bambi's mom.
Bambi, quick, the thicket!
Believe it or not, early script drafts revealed that Judge Doom wasn't just a greedy villain with creepy eyes, he was the very hunter who killed Bambi's mother. Disney nearly allowed one of its most tragic childhood traumas to be tied directly into Toontown. Imagine re-watching Bambi and realizing the faceless hunter stalking through the woods wasn't just a symbol, but actually the same Judge Doom who melted cartoons in dip. It would have turned him into the ultimate crossover villain, binding 2 generations of children's nightmares together. Thankfully, the idea was cut before production, but fans still whisper about the shared universe that almost happened. Proof that sometimes the darkest truths stay on the cutting room floor. Fact 39. Jessica Rabbit, the secret villain.
Oh, honey bunny.
Oh, love cup.
In another shocking draft, Jessica Rabbit wasn't the sultry damsel in distress we know today. Instead, she was secretly plotting against Roger the entire time. Early story notes had her betraying Roger for Judge Doom, framing him in the murder plot and emerging as the film's femme fatale. This twist would have completely changed the character's legacy. Instead of becoming a misunderstood icon of exaggerated cartoon femininity, Jessica would have gone down in history as one of cinema's most cold-blooded femme fatales. The final version softened her into the classic, "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way" character, but deep down, the idea that Jessica nearly became the villain makes every rewatch just a little more suspicious. Fact 38, Baby Herman as Mastermind.
Cut! What the hell was wrong with that take?
Baby Herman might look like a cigar-chomping toddler with a filthy mouth, but early writers imagined something darker. Drafts once painted him as the true mastermind behind Acme's murder, using Roger as a clueless pawn. Herman's 50-year-old's lust and 3-year-old's dinky persona already blurred the line between cartoon parody and nightmare fuel, but making him a criminal genius, that would have flipped the entire story. Picture the final reveal, a stroller-bound gangster pulling the strings all along. While the idea was scrapped, Herman's unsettling adult mannerisms remain one of the weirdest gags in animation history. Sometimes the creepiest villains hide in diapers. Fact 37. Weasels were parody dwarfs. The mischievous weasels, with their chaotic energy and slapstick deaths, were originally much stranger. Early drafts envisioned them as warped parodies of Snow White's 7 dwarfs. Instead of happy, dopey, or grumpy, you'd have grotesque toon versions with criminal quirks. It would have been Disney parodying itself on a whole new level, turning its most innocent fairy tale characters into cackling gangsters. While the idea was toned down, some traces remain. The weasel's distinctive personalities echo classic dwarf archetypes, just twisted through slapstick and menace. It's one of those bizarre what-ifs that makes you wonder how far Disney was willing to poke fun at its own legacy. Fact 36. The horrifying pighead scene.
What were you looking for, Mr. Valiant?
Last week, some heavy breather wanted one of my nylons as a souvenir.
Few deleted scenes are as disturbing as the infamous pighead sequence. In this cut moment, Judge Doom's goons capture Eddie Valiant and force a cartoon pig's head onto him, transforming him into a grotesque toon-human hybrid. The makeup effects were grotesque, the imagery nightmare-inducing, and test audiences absolutely hated it. Some described it as traumatizing, even by 1980s standards. The sequence was so upsetting that it was cut before general release, though photos and snippets occasionally surface at conventions. Even without it, Roger Rabbit walked a razor's edge between comedy and horror. The pighead test proves just how close it came to full nightmare fuel. Fact 35. Roger dies in the novel.
I just don't believe it. I won't believe it. I can't believe it.
Gary Wolfe's original novel, Who Censored Roger Rabbit, told a much darker story than the movie. In the book, Roger actually dies early on, leaving Eddie Valiant to team up with Roger's disintegrating doppelganger made of speech balloons. It was a surreal, adult-oriented detective parody with heavy doses of noir absurdity. Disney and Spielberg knew this tone wouldn't work for a mass audience, so they softened it for film, but kept some of the noir grit. Fans who later read the novel were shocked by just how grim Roger's fate originally was. It's proof that the movie we know is the light-hearted version of a very strange adult satire. Fact 34. Roger's tragic death with Sting's song.
No pain, no pain, no pain.
In one early screenplay draft, Roger Rabbit was destined for a tragic ending. Instead of the wacky, upbeat finale we got, Roger was supposed to die heroically, set to the haunting ballad, The Lazarus Heart by Sting. Imagine the final shot, Jessica sobbing as Roger fades away, Sting's lyrics echoing over the credits. This would have transformed the film from a zany noir cartoon mashup into a tragic romance remembered for its heartbreak. While fascinating to imagine, Disney executives wisely steered the ending toward comedy. After all, children's nightmares don't usually need Sting as the soundtrack. Still, the idea lingers like a ghost in Roger Rabbit lore. Fact 33. Test screenings hated it.
I can give you a star. Look!
Hard to believe, but early test screenings for Who Framed Roger Rabbit were a disaster. The studio made the mistake of showing the film to 18 and 19-year-olds, the exact demographic least likely to appreciate noir throwbacks or cartoon mashups. The preview crowd hated it, leaving studio executives panicked about the film's future. Luckily, once adjusted for the right audience, reactions flipped and the film became a critical and commercial hit. But imagine if Disney had trusted that first screening. We might never have gotten one of the most beloved films of the 1980s, proof that sometimes the wrong test group can nearly kill a masterpiece. Fact 32. The squealing shoe was Bart Simpson. The doomed little cartoon shoe that Judge Doom dips into acid may be the most heartbreaking moment in the film. That squeal? It came from voice actress Nancy Cartwright, who later became the voice of Bart Simpson. It's surreal to realize that the same voice that yells, "Eat my shorts," also screamed in agony as a defenseless toon shoe. The moment hit so hard because it was animated like a child's pet, trembling, squeaking, and then brutally destroyed. Many consider it one of the darkest things Disney ever approved. After hearing the Bart connection, fans often say they can't watch that scene the same way again. A tiny shoe carried one of the most haunting screams in cartoon history. Fact 31. Christopher Lloyd never blinks. Judge Doom already oozes menace, his black hat, pale skin, and lifeless tone. But here's the detail that makes him terrifying. Christopher Lloyd never blinks once throughout the entire film. This subtle choice gave Doom a reptilian, otherworldly aura, making him feel less human with every frame. Viewers may not consciously notice it, but the effect is unsettling on a primal level. Lloyd later admitted he did it deliberately, believing Doom should look more like a snake than a man. Combined with his high-pitched shrieks and deadly dip, the result is one of cinema's most unnerving villains. Who knew that something as simple as not blinking could cement a character into nightmare fuel forever? Fact 30. Baby Herman's creepy persona.
I can pay you. Save your money for a pair of elevator shoes.
Baby Herman was designed to be funny in a gross, edgy way, but he also pushed boundaries. The character has a 50-year-old's lust and a 3-year-old's dinky. In other words, He smokes cigars, gropes women, curses like an old man, and yet waddles around in diapers. That contradiction was meant to parody Hollywood's corruption, but many parents at the time were shocked. The unsettling gag blurred childhood innocence with adult depravity. And some critics accused the film of being too raunchy for kids. Still, Baby Herman became an unforgettable supporting character, both hilarious and disturbing. Few cartoon sidekicks walk the razor's edge between comedy and nightmare fuel quite like him. Fact 29. Jessica's look was a mashup of icons.
Valiant.
I always knew I'd get it in Toontown.
Behind you!
Jessica Rabbit wasn't inspired by just one Hollywood star. She was a deliberate mashup. Her curves came from Rita Hayworth, her flowing peekaboo hairstyle from Veronica Lake, and her sultry attitude from Tex Avery's cartoon bombshell Red Hot Riding Hood. The result was a composite that exaggerated classic femme fatale beauty to surreal proportions. Her design was so exaggerated that animators sometimes had to redraw frames to avoid physics mistakes. Yet Jessica transcended parody and became a pop culture icon in her own right. She's still referenced in cartoons, music videos, and cosplay decades later. Proof that sometimes borrowing a little from everywhere creates a legend. Fact 28. Roger's voice actor wore a rabbit suit. Charles Fleischer didn't just provide Roger's voice, he became Roger. Every day on set, Fleischer showed up in a full rabbit costume. He insisted it helped the cast and crew treat him like the Toon he was channeling. Bob Hoskins admitted it was both hilarious and unsettling to act opposite a grown man in floppy ears and a tail. Some crew members thought Fleischer was going too far, but others said his dedication brought authenticity to the role. In the end, Roger's manic energy came alive because Fleischer lived in character. Who needs method acting when you can have method tuning? Fact 27. Bob Hoskins hallucinated cartoons.
Get this straight, meatballs.
Bob Hoskins gave one of his most iconic performances as Eddie Valiant, but it came at a strange cost. After months of acting opposite invisible characters, he began hallucinating cartoons in real life. He once swore he saw a weasel pop out of a woman's hat on the subway. The psychological toll of pretending every day eventually got so intense that Hoskins took a year off from acting to recover. It shows how grueling the role was, not just physically, but mentally. Eddie's exasperation in the movie wasn't just acting. It was Hoskins' real struggle bleeding through. Sometimes the line between reality and animation got dangerously blurry. Fact 26. Judge Doom's Toon Gang that never was. Judge Doom was terrifying enough on his own, but an early draft gave him a full gang of cartoon henchmen. The lineup included a vulture, a kangaroo jury, and other bizarre creations designed to serve as Toontown's underworld enforcers. The idea was to surround Doom with an army of nightmare toons, emphasizing his domination over cartoon kind. But ultimately, the filmmakers decided it distracted from Doom's personal menace and scrapped the idea. Still, concept art occasionally surfaces, and fans can't help but wonder how frightening the film would have been with a kangaroo jury hopping in behind Doom. Sometimes restraint makes a villain even scarier. Fact 25. Deleted cameos. Popeye, Superman, and Casper.
You're under arrest.
The film was already bursting with cartoon cameos. Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, but some huge names didn't make the cut. Drafts and concept lists included Popeye, Superman, and even Casper the Friendly Ghost. Why were they cut? Licensing headaches. Warner Bros. And Disney carefully negotiated equal screen time for their stars, but bringing in outside icons proved too messy. Still, just imagine Roger trading quips with Popeye or Superman flying through Toontown. It could have been the greatest crossover in cartoon history. Fans still dream about the deleted cameos, proving the film's Toon universe was almost much bigger than what we saw. Fact 24. Jessica's voice was 3 people. Jessica Rabbit's iconic voice wasn't the work of just one actress. It took 3 women to bring her to life. Kathleen Turner provided the sultry speaking voice, Amy Irving supplied the singing voice, and actress Betsy Brantley served as the live-action model for animators. This patchwork of talent created the unforgettable character who stole scenes with every line. The choice to combine multiple performers gave Jessica an otherworldly quality. Part human, part fantasy. Fans often credit Kathleen Turner alone, but the truth is Jessica was a team effort. It's rare that 3 performers fuse into one legend, but Jessica Rabbit proved that collaboration can create something larger than life. Fact 23. Raise sets for invisible tunes.
Okay, take 1, reference.
I said, where's the rabbit?
To make cartoon interactions believable, the filmmakers went to incredible lengths. Sets were literally built on raised platforms with crawl spaces underneath, so puppeteers could yank props, tip chairs, and pour drinks as if invisible tunes were there. Every time Roger grabbed a glass or Baby Herman tugged a cigar, it was thanks to hidden technicians contorting themselves under the floorboards. This method gave the illusion that the cartoon characters had real weight in the physical world. It was grueling, but it worked. The result was a movie where cartoons didn't just float in, they belonged. Long before CGI, practical trickery sold the magic. Fact 22. Animation on ones.
The problem is not going to be how to do it. The problem is going to be time and money.
Most cartoons of the era were drawn on 2s, one image shown for every 2 frames of film, creating a slightly choppier motion. But Roger Rabbit broke the rules, animating characters on 1s, meaning every single frame was hand-drawn. That's 24 drawings per second, an insane workload. Why? Because the camera never stood still. With constant movement, lighting shifts, and live action actors, the tunes had to feel fluid and natural. Animating on ones gave Roger and Jessica a hyper-realistic presence. The price was exhaustion. Animators worked around the clock. The payoff? A seamless blend of live action and animation that still looks stunning decades later. Fact 21, a fake director credit.
Come on, you dope. I'm tired, rope. And watch him going.
The film opens with the short cartoon Something's Cookin', supposedly directed by a man named Raoul J. Rowell. Here's the twist. He doesn't exist. It was a fake credit. A playful in-joke by animation director Richard Williams, who secretly animated parts himself. Hiding behind a fictional director gave the short a sense of authenticity, as if it were part of a larger cartoon universe. Fans who noticed often assumed Raoul was a real veteran animator lost to history. Instead, it was a sly wink to insiders. In a movie full of fake tunes, even the credits were playing along with the illusion. Fact 20. Jessica sparked real-world harassment. Jessica Rabbit's exaggerated design didn't just shock audiences, it had unexpected real-world consequences. By the early 1990s, women reported being harassed by men who mockingly called them Jessica because of their looks. Some even endured catcalls referencing the "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way" line. What was meant as cartoon parody accidentally fed into real-life objectification. Disney even leaned into her sex appeal with merchandise like neon signs and nightclubs. Today, Jessica is still an icon, but her cultural footprint is complicated. She was a fantasy drawn to extremes, and sometimes reality couldn't separate parody from provocation. Fact 19. Spielberg protected the darkness.
Door opens. And cut.
Disney executives wanted Roger Rabbit to be a light-hearted, kid-friendly cartoon comedy. But producer Steven Spielberg pushed back. He believed the noir elements, murder, alcoholism, corruption, were essential to the story's edge. Without Spielberg's clout, much of the film's grit might have been sanitized. He fought to preserve Judge Doom's menace, Eddie's tragic backstory, and the unsettling moments that made the film feel dangerous. Ironically, those darker notes are what elevated the movie into a classic. Spielberg knew kids could handle more than executives assumed. Thanks to him, Roger Rabbit wasn't just silly slapstick, it became a groundbreaking blend of shadow and laughter. Fact 18. Bill Murray missed his chance.
It was a period film noir live action movie.
Here's one of Hollywood's great what-ifs. Bill Murray was the first choice to play Eddie Valiant. Casting directors tried to reach him, but Murray famously didn't have an agent, and he never got the message. By the time he found out, the role had already gone to Bob Hoskins. Murray later admitted he regretted missing the chance, especially after seeing the film's success. Imagine Eddie Valiant with Murray's sarcastic charm instead of Hoskins' gruff intensity. It would have been an entirely different movie. In hindsight, fate may have chosen correctly, but the thought of Murray bantering with Roger is tantalizing. Fact 17. Tim Curry was too scary. Before Christopher Lloyd was cast as Judge Doom, another actor auditioned, Tim Curry. Known for the Rocky Horror Picture Show and legend, Curry delivered such a terrifying performance that the filmmakers thought it was simply too much for audiences. They worried kids would be traumatized before Doom even revealed his Toon identity. The audition was shelved, and Lloyd got the part. Still, Curry's version lives in fan speculation. If Lloyd's unblinking menace is already nightmare fuel, just imagine Curry unleashing his sinister laugh in Toontown. Sometimes a role is too perfect, and in this case, too terrifying to risk. Fact 16, Bugs and Mickey had equal screen time. When Warner Brothers and Disney agreed to let their cartoon megastars share the screen, there was one strict condition: equal treatment. Bugs, Bunny, and Mickey Mouse had to appear together for the same amount of time, and neither could be seen as superior. That's why they're both parachuting side by side in the film's most memorable cameo. The same rule applied to Donald and Daffy Duck's piano duel. Every joke was carefully balanced, so no studio mascot came out on top. It was a rare truce in cartoon rivalries, and fans were stunned to see icons who once battled for Saturday mornings finally sharing the stage. In a movie full of deals, this one was historic. Fact 15, Eddie Valiant's Dark Edge.
Cut!
Most live-action leads in cartoon movies were goofy or lighthearted, but Eddie Valiant wasn't built that way. He was an alcoholic detective haunted by his brother's death at the hands of a Toon. That tragic backstory gave the film unexpected weight, and made the character far more than just a comedic foil for Roger. Bob Hoskins leaned into Eddie's bitterness, grounding the movie in real noir. Without it, the story could have collapsed into pure silliness. Instead, Eddie became the anchor, a broken man forced to laugh again. That blend of tragedy and comedy is part of why Roger Rabbit still resonates decades later. Fact 14, the singing sword was Sinatra.
Well, at least he took it well.
Among all the movie's sight gags, one stands out as pure brilliance: the singing sword. When Eddie pulls it out, it belts a tune in Frank Sinatra's voice. Yes, the legendary crooner himself recorded the lines. It was a wink to both classic cartoons and old Hollywood glamour. Sinatra's cameo elevated what could have been a throwaway gag into something iconic. Fans of the era recognized his voice instantly, and the joke worked on multiple levels. A noir detective pulling a sword that sings like a Vegas headliner. Only Roger Rabbit could pull off a gag that insane and make it unforgettable. Fact 13, Harvey's Invisible Rabbit cameo.
So that he could get his hands on Toontown?
Yeah.
In one quick moment, Eddie Valiant mutters the line, "Say hello, Harvey." It's easy to miss, but it's a sly nod to the 1950 Jimmy Stewart film Harvey, about a man whose best friend is a 6-foot invisible rabbit. The reference works perfectly, connecting Roger Rabbit's chaos with one of Hollywood's most famous rabbit stories. It's the kind of Easter egg that longtime film buffs cherish. The line isn't just a throwaway gag. It places Roger within a cinematic lineage of surreal rabbit companions. For a movie already obsessed with cartoon history, the Harvey nod shows just how deep the filmmakers went. Fact 12, patty cake wasn't what it seemed.
Get up. What are you gonna do to me, Valiant?
When Eddie catches Jessica and Acme playing patty cake, it looks scandalous, until you realize they're literally clapping hands like children. This gag was a brilliant parody of noir tropes, turning adultery into innocent wordplay. It was also a sly commentary on censorship. By replacing sex with playground games, the film got away with mocking taboo subjects under Disney's nose. The photos Eddie develops are staged like steamy snapshots, but they reveal nothing more than silly hand claps. It's one of the cleverest jokes in the film, both risque and childishly innocent at the same time. Only Roger Rabbit could pull off such a twist. Fact 11, the Acme factory was real. The climactic showdown in the Acme factory wasn't filmed on a Hollywood backlot. It was shot at London's Dimco buildings, a sprawling Victorian power station. The cavernous space gave the finale its eerie industrial feel, filled with pipes, shadows, and echoing machinery. The location was so atmospheric that it has since been used in other films and TV shows. By choosing a real site instead of a constructed set, the movie's finale had a gritty authenticity that balanced out the cartoon mayhem. The Acme factory feels like a nightmare playground, half comic strip, half industrial graveyard, and it's all thanks to real architecture. Fact 10, Toontown's tunnel came from Griffith Park. The tunnel leading Eddie and Roger into Toontown isn't just a fantasy backdrop, it's a real tunnel in Los Angeles' Griffith Park. Known as the Mid-Hollywood Tunnel, it has appeared in movies like Back to the Future 2. Locals instantly recognized it, giving the film an extra layer of nostalgia. In Roger Rabbit, the tunnel becomes a gateway between grim reality and cartoon chaos. The choice to use a real landmark helped ground the transition in something familiar, making Toontown feel both magical and oddly plausible. Every time fans drive through Griffith Park, they can't help but picture Roger bouncing into frame. Fact 9. Maroon Cartoons' lot had TV history. Maroon Cartoons, the fictional studio where much of the action unfolds, was shot at the historic Desilu-Renmar Studios in Hollywood. Once owned by Lucille Ball, the lot had hosted legendary sitcoms and TV productions for decades. By the time Roger Rabbit filmed there, the space was already layered with television history. Using it as the backdrop gave the studio scenes a subtle authenticity. It really was a place where screen magic had been made for generations. For a movie obsessed with Hollywood nostalgia, shooting at Desilu was the perfect choice. It's like Roger was crashing straight into TV history. Fact 8. Fragile merchandise and games. Like every blockbuster, Roger Rabbit spawned merchandise, but much of it was disappointing. Action figures were flimsy and broke easily, leaving collectors frustrated. The NES video game was notoriously tedious, criticized for confusing puzzles and clunky controls. Oddly enough, the simpler Game Boy version turned out better, with smoother gameplay and more fun. There was even a short-lived board game called Dip Flip, where players dunked cartoon pieces into vats of dip. Unlike most Disney tie-ins, the merchandise quickly faded into obscurity. Today, surviving toys are fragile collector's items, but most fans remember them as a missed opportunity. For a movie so innovative, its spin-off products never captured the same spark. Fact 7. Jessica's Real Boutique.
Do they have the wheel or not?
Nah, just a stupid love letter.
No matter.
Disney took Jessica Rabbit's popularity seriously. Maybe too seriously. From 1990 to 1993, Pleasure Island at Walt Disney World featured a nightclub and boutique called Jessica's. The venue had neon signs of Jessica's famous swinging leg and sold themed merchandise aimed squarely at adults. It was one of Disney's strangest ventures, a sultry cartoon nightclub in the middle of a family-friendly park. Critics questioned whether Jessica was too risque for the Disney brand, and by 1993, the boutique closed. Today, photos of the glowing Jessica sign are cult treasures for fans. It's proof of how far the character's cultural impact reached, and how Disney once flirted with edgy nightlife branding. Fact 6. Animators and puppeteers in sync. The magic of Roger Rabbit relied on perfect timing between animators and puppeteers. Every scene where a toon picked up a glass, tugged a tie, or slammed a door was carefully choreographed with wires, rigs, and redraws. Animators often had to trace live-action frames to align cartoon movement with real objects. Meanwhile, hidden puppeteers yanked props at the exact moment actors reacted. This seamless coordination gave the illusion that Roger was truly sharing the stage with humans. Long before CGI, the film pioneered a hybrid art form. The teamwork was grueling but groundbreaking, a blueprint for every live-action animation crossover that followed. Fact 5. The freeway conspiracy was real.
Better there, pal. I feel better. Oh,
The movie's plot about a villain destroying Los Angeles' streetcar system to make way for freeways wasn't just fiction. It was inspired by real 1940s corporate conspiracies. Oil, tire, and auto companies bought out and dismantled LA's once thriving rail lines to force car culture on the city. Judge Doom's evil plan mirrored history so closely that it startled audiences who knew the truth. What looked like a cartoon exaggeration was actually rooted in fact. The freeway subplot wasn't just noir storytelling, it was biting social commentary. In a film filled with slapstick, this one detail hit uncomfortably close to reality. Fact 4. Roger Rabbit revived animation. By the late 1980s, American animation was struggling. Then Roger Rabbit hit theaters. With its $60–70 million budget and groundbreaking visuals, the film grossed over $320 million worldwide. More importantly, it reminded studios that animation could be a box office powerhouse. Its success paved the way for the Disney Renaissance, starting with The Little Mermaid in 1989. Animators later credited Roger Rabbit for proving audiences craved ambitious, stylish animated storytelling again. Without it, classics like Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King might not have been greenlit. In many ways, Roger saved cartoons, not bad for a nervous rabbit in suspenders. Fact 3. Spielberg's deal-making genius. Getting Warner Brothers and Disney to share characters was a miracle, and it happened because of Steven Spielberg. As producer, he personally negotiated contracts ensuring equal screen time for rivals like Bugs and Mickey, Donald and Daffy. Without him, the crossover dream would have been impossible. Spielberg's influence also shielded the movie's darker tone from Disney executives who wanted to cut noir elements. By balancing diplomacy with creative protection, he turned a risky project into a masterpiece. It's no exaggeration to say that without Spielberg's clout, Roger Rabbit wouldn't exist as we know it. His fingerprints are on every frame. Fact 2. The movie nearly starred a different Eddie.
Well, you're a sight for sore
I ain't
eyes.
seen you to nigh on to 5 years.
Where you been?
Bob Hoskins is now inseparable from Eddie Valiant, but the role could have gone very differently. Before him, producers considered actors like Harrison Ford, too expensive, Chevy Chase, not interested, and Robert Redford, too clean cut. Even Eddie Murphy turned it down, thinking a cartoon-human hybrid movie sounded ridiculous. Ironically, Murphy later admitted he regretted the decision once the film became a hit. In the end, Hoskins' gruff working-class vibe was exactly what the movie needed. He grounded the chaos with heart and realism, making every toon interaction believable. Sometimes the last choice ends up being the perfect one. Fact 1. The doom reveal that haunted fans.
City councils, a construction plan of epic proportion.
Judge Doom's reveal as a toon in disguise remains one of the most shocking twists in movie history. His bulging cartoon eyes, high-pitched shrieks, and the infamous steamroller death terrified children worldwide. The moment cemented Doom as one of cinema's most unforgettable villains. But here's the kicker. Even on set, Christopher Lloyd's performance unsettled crew members. With his unblinking stare and eerie stillness, Lloyd carried Doom's menace even before the toon reveal. Decades later, fans still cite the scene as one of the most traumatic childhood movie moments ever. It's the perfect #1 fact. A villain so terrifying, he blurred the line between cartoons and nightmares. Bonus fact. A made-up curse word lives on. The movie introduced a nonsense word that outlived the film itself. Please became Roger's stammering signature, but the real legacy came from the invented toon slang patooey and other gibberish lines. Fans began repeating them, and animators even joked that Roger's speak became a secret studio code word. Over the years, kids who grew up on the movie carried those quirky sounds into playgrounds and even adulthood. Some argue Roger Rabbit created one of the only made-up cartoon dialects to stick in real-world slang. It's a reminder that even nonsense can leave a permanent cultural footprint when delivered with enough heart.